Today I want to do some work on this build configs tool that I've been working on recently, given a couple of talks about it, some user groups. It's a tool that I used to generate build configuration files for projects, particularly Drupal projects, but also some Symfony and some PHP projects as well. And some other things. Been evolving it quite a bit recently. But yeah, there's a few things I want to do with it. And after seeing Ryan's talk and seeing Ryan Reeves start to do some more streaming, Ryan from SymfonyCast do some more streaming, he'd mentioned about Tutsero, which is a CLI tool that he's built that uses Behat. So I might try and get to Behat today. That's the plan. Not looked at Behat for quite a while, but there's a few things I want to do. One thing I need to do is post this tweet just about live, do some PHP work. Yeah, let's post that. I'm not too bothered if nobody turns up and joins this one. It's been the first one for a while, so I just want to get one done, and then we'll see, and then we'll get back into doing this a bit regularly, hopefully. Yeah, but build configs is a tool I've started. It's a Symfony CLI tool, so command line tool. Uses a build configuration file, YAML file, and there's a whole CLI tool behind it that generates files from a build YAML tool. So rather than me having to maintain different Docker files, different Docker Compose files, different PHP stand configuration files, etc., I've got a set of templates that I use. I can keep those maintained and up to date and improved locally, and then I can have a project and say this one uses PHP 7.2, 7.3, 8.1, 8.2, uses Apache, uses Nginx. This one uses PHP Unit or Pest or Paratest. That might not be there yet, but that is something on my list of things to look at. Yeah, this talk I gave that goes into a bit more about what it does, what it solves. And yeah, here's a good diagram actually that sort of shows what's going on. So build YAML file per project. Then we've got some twig files, all the template files are twig. Build configs in the middle, and then output files, just like Docker files and Docker Compose files. It's about the third iteration of a tool like this that I've used or worked on. The name is I took from Alta4Stream on Twitch. He's built something similar for himself in Rust. I think my version was called the build configuration file generator or something like that. I quite like this. This one's a bit shorter, a bit snappier. So yeah, we'll do some work on this. So see it running. This is on GitHub. The actual CLI to itself is closed, so that's not open source. But there are projects that I've got on GitHub. Some Docker examples, for example, like this Drupal Docker example. This is all done using Docker, but is using build configs generated configuration files. So you can see we've got a build.yaml file in this repo that gives it a name, gives it a language, PHP because it's Drupal, and then the type is Drupal. This one uses Nginx, which type of database, which version of a database you want to use, which version of PHP. So this uses the Docker image label, 8.2 FPM Bullseye, which PHP code sniffer we want to use, which paths we want to check, what standards we want to check, and PHP stand we want to check. So yeah, I carry on building up these files, adding some more things to it. The Dockroot is quite an important one because certain projects are in web, and some are in Dockroot, and some aren't any at all. So it just means I've got a bit of an abstraction between each project and the files that it generates, so I can maintain those separately, fix any bugs, add any enhancements to them, and I don't get things like, does this file have Xdebug? Does this project have Xdebug in it or not? Or is that one, or this project has this thing and that one doesn't? So really solves that problem for me anyway, and for some examples and some projects. The one I wanted to go to is here. So this build configs has a build configs file itself, so I can open that up. Yeah, it's a Symfony project, it's PHP. This one's using a Nix Flake instead of a Docker image, so I can specify which packages we want in the flake, and then it generates the flake file from this. So again, this is all templated. It just inputs the fact that we want PHP 8.2 and we want 8.2 Composer, takes those from the YAML file on the right and generates the file on the left. So I can run it. Let's see if we can see what it does. So I do bin, this one's not console, this one is build configs. I can specify a configuration file to use. I won't do it right now, but I will specify an output, just because I don't want it to output it all. Is it -O? Let's see. I've forgotten how to use my own tool. Oh, no, we need to actually pass the command app_generate. -O temp string. There we go. So this project is building the configuration for this project from that next build YAML file that we saw, and it's generated these files. So this githooks file and then this flake.nix file, as we saw. If I was to specify a different config file, let's say GitHub Docker example, so do the Docker example, the Drupal example one. That doesn't exist because it's in main. I also need to specify the file name. So now it's using this project name, and as you can see, there's a lot more files to it. And then we can look at tree, we can do tree, we can do tree on temp stream and see the files that it's generated. So made this file, yeah, same list that we just saw, and it's also made all these directories that it needs as well. So it puts things into the right place. So what I would like to do is, well, first of all, I have a run file. So the run file is just a small bash file that gives me some aliases that I can run. So I can run things like run build, run CI test, run clean. It runs the underlying commands in it as well. So actually, let's have a look at the run file. So yeah, each of those things that I just mentioned has a function called clean, function called build. And towards the bottom, we've got this magic line at the bottom that takes the command name that I've passed it and uses it. Something I took from Nick Jankakis on some of his projects, which is just an approach that I really like. I've also used just files, which is something else I picked up from Multifor. I tend to use the two interchangeably. I like this, but it works everywhere, which is nice. It's a little bit more verbose. Yeah, so we do have some tests, I think, in this project. Just see, we need to do a Composer install. Yeah, so we have some projects and tests. They're all passing. That's awesome. It's got some things with just validating the configuration file, because we've got a config DTO. Actually, we can show you that as well. Yeah, so look, tries to map that build.yaml file to a data transfer object, and we'll validate them first to make sure that everything is valid. So I can't pass through an empty PHP version or an array instead of a string or something. So this, yeah, is all using Symfony, and this is using Symfony validation of this data object, and then I can't remember what the right word is now. So, well, it says assertions here. Maybe there's an actual better word for it. Come back to me. And then yeah, it counts up all the violations and then validates them to make sure that there aren't any errors before it progresses. I do also have this thing of test snapshot, which is what I might want to use the bhat stuff for potentially. It's snapshots plural. So this is just a fairly naive implementation of snapshot testing. I've got some files that snapshotted versions of files, so the ones that I know what the files need to look like, and then I run that against a few different example projects within the tool itself, and then compare the output. So I might want to use that instead of use bhat instead of that potentially, and make that a bit more streamlined.